The Denver Broncos are officially back in action as OTA'S kicked off today, and there's real excitement in the air. Not only are we seeing signs of life from this team, but they may be in a prime position to make a legitimate playoff run this year. While things seem to be unraveling a bit in Buffalo and Cincinnati, and the situation in Los Angeles with the Chargers isn't exactly promising, Denver finds itself in a surprisingly strong spot. Now, for the first time this offseason, it's offense versus defense on the field. Up until now, it's mostly been strength training and basic drills, but this is where things get real. This is where chemistry starts to build and where coaches begin to get a sense of who's ready to compete. As fans, this is the moment we wait for, when we finally start hearing stories out of camp that get us fired up. What would be the one headline or storyline from OTAs that would send you through a wall with excitement? Personally, if we start hearing that Bo Nix and Evan Engram are already building a dangerous connection, that would be huge. We all know defenses tend to have the upper hand early in the offseason, and Denver's defense is already one of the most formidable in the league. That's no easy test for a second-year quarterback, but it's exactly the kind of challenge that could accelerate his growth. Imagine this: Nix consistently threading the needle, Engram hauling in tough catches over the middle. That kind of development could change everything for this offense. One challenge, though, is that Denver's OTAs remain more under wraps than most teams in the league. While other organizations flood social media with practice highlights, we've seen constant clips of rookies and veterans alike from across the NFL. The Broncos are keeping things quiet. Under Sean Payton, the approach has been all about keeping things in-house. From day one, he's made it clear this team will operate with discipline and silence. And while that can be frustrating for fans hungry for content, it also hints at a team focused on substance over spectacle. Sean Payton isn't interested in putting on a media show. If he's not required to have cameras and reporters at practice, he won't. It's like that moment when company finally leaves and you can finally relax. That's how Payton treats media access. Unlike some other teams that welcome the spotlight, hyping up every clip and creating buzz, Payton is focused on keeping things tight. Where others are out there building social media narratives, Denver is building quietly and intentionally. NFL rules mandate that media must attend at least one of the first 3 OTA practices, so we likely won't see any official footage or insider reports until day 3, which lands on Thursday. But even without highlights, there's plenty to be excited about. A recent report from Over the Cap revealed that the Broncos are returning 86% of their roster from last season. That's massive, especially considering this was a playoff team and several key players overperformed expectations in 2024. Continuity is rare in the NFL, and Denver's got it. What's even more encouraging, the 14% of new additions are serious upgrades. You're talking about Evan Engram, one of the most productive tight ends in the league last season, joining the offense. Then there's linebacker Dre Greenlaw, a Pro Bowler with a reputation for sideline-to-sideline dominance, and safety Talanoa Hufanga, an all-pro enforcer on the back end. These aren't just new faces, they're difference makers. So while some franchises are still scrambling to rebuild, Denver's bringing back a strong core and adding elite talent in the right spots. And notably, 2 other teams in the division, the Chiefs and Chargers, aren't even on that top returning players list. In fact, the Chargers are near the bottom in terms of returning starters. That level of consistency combined with high-impact reinforcements gives Denver a real edge going into the season. Quiet now, but loud when it counts. Earlier this week, we talked about how rough the Chargers' offseason has been, and it's now even clearer. According to the latest data, they're near the bottom when it comes to returning players from last year. That lack of continuity could spell trouble, especially in a division that's getting more competitive by the day. Meanwhile, Denver's doing something we haven't seen in over a decade, bringing back the same quarterback and play caller in back-to-back seasons. That may not sound huge, but it's a game changer, especially for Bo Nix. Dating all the way back to high school, Nix has had to deal with a revolving door of offensive coordinators. This year, that finally changes. He already knows Sean Payton's system, the terminology, the timing, no learning curve, no reset button. That kind of stability can unlock his full potential. Add to that a returning offensive line that's being called one of the best in football. Not just by fans, but by analysts like Benjamin Solak of The Ringer. According to him, only 2 teams can claim to have a top-tier O-line right now, and Denver is one of them. He also highlighted how the Chiefs are on the opposite end of that spectrum, with one of the league's weakest offensive fronts going into 2025. So here's the big picture. The Broncos are returning their key starters. They've got one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, and their defense, already ranked top 3, continues to improve. That's the foundation of a playoff caliber team. Looking ahead, the future's just as promising. While there are a few names due for extensions, players like Nick Bonitto, Zach Allen, and Courtland Sutton, Denver is not one of the top 10 teams at risk of major roster turnover in 2026. Compare that to the Chargers, who have 19 players hitting contract years next season, all of whom played significant snaps in 2024. Keeping that many core contributors is going to be nearly impossible. Bottom line, Denver's building something sustainable. Other teams in the division are bracing for major changes, but the Broncos are doubling down on continuity, growth, and elite talent on both sides of the ball. One of the biggest advantages Denver holds right now is having Bo Nix on a rookie contract. That gives the team a rare window, the ability to build an elite roster around a young quarterback without the massive cap hit that comes with a veteran deal. And the Broncos are taking full advantage. Despite carrying the dead cap from Russell Wilson's contract, Denver has still managed to return 86% of its starters from last season. That kind of roster consistency, combined with strategic upgrades, puts the team in a uniquely strong position. A big reason for that? Ownership. The Broncos have the most cash-rich ownership group in the NFL. That's not just hype, it's having a real impact on how the front office builds this roster. At the recent league meetings, Commissioner Roger Goodell even acknowledged it. He suggested that the league might need to revisit how the salary cap functions because cash-heavy owners, like Denver's, can structure contracts with massive upfront bonuses. That means less long-term cap pressure and more flexibility to load up talent now. While other franchises are forced to play it safe, the Broncos are free to stay aggressive, even while eating big dead cap numbers. That's already showing up across the league. In Cincinnati, for example, the Bengals are struggling to finalize a deal with pass rusher Trey Hendrickson and have reportedly been slow in negotiations with their latest first-round pick. It's a clear contrast between what's possible with deep-pocketed ownership and what's not. So when people ask why there's so much optimism surrounding the Broncos right now, this is it. The front office has the tools, the financial power, and the roster to compete. And while some teams are cutting costs, Denver's doubling down on winning. One storyline to watch closely, the status of Courtland Sutton. There's still some uncertainty about his involvement in off-season training, and his contract situation could develop further as the summer unfolds. He's a key piece of the offense, and how that situation plays out will be important heading into the season. There's some speculation around Courtland Sutton's status during these voluntary off-season workouts. Technically, it's not a holdout. Players aren't required to attend. But let's be honest, if you're serious about chasing a Super Bowl, you show up. Sutton is a difference maker when he's on the field, especially on deep routes and in breaking patterns. His separation metrics put him firmly in WR1 territory. The film and the data both back that up. Now, shifting to the quarterback, some people are already tossing around the idea of a sophomore slump for Bo Nix, but there's plenty of reason to believe the opposite will happen. Most quarterbacks who struggle in year 2 were hot early, then cooled off once defenses adjusted. That's not what we saw from Nix. In fact, his worst games came early, and he actually got better as the season progressed. Despite tough matchups, including games against the Chargers' top-ranked defense, the Bengals, and a late-season battle with the Chiefs, Nix ended the year with one of the highest EPA per dropback numbers in the league from Week 10 onward. Only Jared Goff, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen posted better efficiency over that stretch. That's elite company. And here's the difference maker. For the first time in his career, Bo Nix has year-to-year continuity with his play caller. That alone can unlock another level of development. No new language, no new system, just refinement, chemistry, and growth. Add that to the news of returning starters and a strengthened supporting cast, and the Broncos are setting Nix up to succeed, not stumble. The structure is there, the talent is there, and the late season performance shows he's trending in the right direction. On top of that, Denver's playoff path could be looking even smoother, and we'll get into that in the next section. Let's talk about what's happening around the AFC, because there's been some big developments that could benefit the Broncos. First, Buffalo took a swing by signing Joey Bosa, hoping he'd step in as the heir to Von Miller. On paper, that's a strong move. Bosa's still one of the best pure pass rushers when healthy, but just days into OTA'S, he strained his calf. That's a brutal start for Bills fans, especially given his recent injury history. Now he's not expected back until at least training camp. Then there's the situation with James Cook. The Bills' lead back is currently sitting out voluntary workouts, and this is a story not getting enough attention. Cook was a huge part of Buffalo's offensive success last season, especially in the postseason. It wasn't Josh Allen's arm that did the damage against Denver, it was the ground game, led by Cook. If that holdout drags on or leads to a trade, it could significantly weaken Buffalo's offense. Cincinnati is also dealing with internal friction. First-round pick Shemar Stewart still hasn't signed, and veteran pass rusher Trey Hendrickson remains in a contract standoff. When two key pieces of your defense are missing from the offseason program, that's a major concern for a team trying to stay competitive in the AFC. Here's the bigger picture. While some of our biggest playoff rivals are facing holdouts, injuries, and roster uncertainty, the Broncos are gaining stability. We're bringing back the majority of our core. We've made meaningful upgrades, and we have a clear plan in place. And behind it all is a key advantage that can't be overlooked: ownership. Denver has the deepest pockets in the NFL, and that translates to strategic flexibility in free agency and contract structuring. That financial power gives the Broncos a real edge when it comes to building and sustaining a championship caliber roster. Bottom line, while other contenders are stumbling, Denver is gaining ground. The Broncos are back, and this time they're built to last.